Hi everyone, it's Rax. I've already leveled 4 level 100s on hardcore so far in the season, and I have a leveling sheet which a lot of you have used and enjoyed to get to 100. But nothing beats actually logging into the season and actually going through the motions. And I've actually learned 8 kind of new things. I hope they'll be new for you that I think will really help you level up not only your main characters, but also your alts. So let's get started. That's enough of an intro. Let's start with the very first thing. First, I would like to direct you to this guide, which I will put a link down below. If you have not done your renown, there is a side quest which you really should do called the Pinch of Poison. You go to Kekistan, it takes 2 seconds, you complete the quest. The reason why this guide is important is because when you go to your little alchemist down here, or whatever this potion guy is called, I don't know if Blizzard made a mistake or not, but if you go here to craft elixirs, there is a thing called Quest Elixir, the elixir of anti-venin. And this is a reward after you complete that side quest. Well, the weird thing about this elixir is you can wear this elixir with another elixir to get an extra 15% max life, 20 poison res, and 8% extra XP. You can just get this buff forever. And if you don't believe me, well, here we go. Let's put on any random elixir like this one. Okay, and let's look at our life, 32k. And if we drink the other elixir, 39k. They both work. And then on top of it, another point is you can also craft an incense. Now, some of these can be a little bit expensive, but I like to craft the ones, whichever one I can craft the most of, which has the main stat for your character. So, for example, if you're playing Rogue, you take Dexterity, or for Barb, you take Strength. And this is also going to give you 5% more XP. When you stack all of these together, you're going to level way faster. I don't know if it's a bug or not, but hey, it works. So until Blizzard fixes it, you can use both of these together for a huge XP boost. The next hit I want to give you is there's a new elixir with Season 4. And, well, there's 2 of them actually, Elixir of Momentum, but the really good one is the Elixir of Holy Bolts. After killing an enemy, holy bolts fire from the corpse of the enemy. This thing destroys everything. So you should try to wear these all the time. So you'll find them doing different activities, but not only is this elixir so great, did you know you can make them? Again, go into our homie here, potion guy, seasonal elixirs, and you can see you can craft them for 350 obols. In my opinion, for leveling up, this is absolutely worth it. If you have a healthy stock, if you are chugging these every 15 minutes, you're going to annihilate everything. So use the Elixir of Holy Bolts if you haven't tried them yet, and craft them if you didn't know that. So the next thing is, a lot of people know that Hell Tides are kind of the way to level. Now they're in World Tier 1 and 2, and there's also that consumable from the Iron Wolves that you can make it 10 levels higher. Did you know that Nightmare Dungeons are better than Helltide for leveling up? That's for 2 reasons. The first reason is it levels up your glyphs. So you should transition to Nightmare Dungeons as soon as you possibly can. I'll explain how to do it for the next tip. But the other reason is, do you remember when the PTR hit and I was mercilessly testing everything and looking at the Nightmare Dungeon XP? Did you know that there was another sheet that I did where I tested the Nightmare Dungeon events? And if you look over on this column, column G, this is XP per hour. Look at the value of these cursed shrines. What are they averaged like? I don't know, like 160 or something. 160, what is this, million or billion, some big number, XP per hour. Well, compare that to even the best Nightmare Dungeon or the Pit. It's way, way higher. Now, some of the other ones aren't quite as good, but most of them are well over 100 million. So when you're running through these Nightmare Dungeons, if you factor in not only the XP per hour that you're getting from them, but also you add in all the time that you spend looking for these events, they're everywhere. You have to click on all the little health potions, all the shrines, all the little NPCs laying on the ground. Talk to them. Sometimes they spawn a 60-second event, the actual side events on the dungeons. I think the only one that really sucks is Nest. And I didn't get to test Nest in the PTR because I never found it. Nest kind of sucks. But even then, it's probably still worth doing. But when you factor in these events into the Nightmare Dungeons, it actually just, not only does it beat the pit, but it also beats Helltide, I think, by a lot. So this is why I've been able to level up so fast, and I hope to even level up faster. I'm going to try to level up a brand new character, hardcore, no pre-rolled gear, no stash gear, nothing. Going just with whatever drops. I'm going to try to get it under 7.5 hours, maybe under 7, using this logic. So the next tip is, how could you get in Nightmare Dungeons as fast as possible? Well, what it requires is it requires you to do a Tree of Whispers. At least it seems to work on World Tier 3. When I did the Tree of Whispers in the beginning of World Tier 4, it didn't give me a key, and it didn't give me enough sigil powder to craft a key, which actually made me really mad. So the moment you get to World Tier 3, instead of going to Helltide, what you can do is go to any dungeon with this red little squiggly on it, which will give you 5 Grim Favors. If you do 2 of them, you can get a Tree of Whisper in World Tier 3 turn-in. It'll give you a Nightmare Dungeon key. You got to pray to God that it's not locked under a stronghold. That's really bad luck if that happens. Then run a couple of Nightmare Dungeons, get some sigil powder, get some more keys. Then you go beat Elias, wherever he is, he's somewhere here. Beat Elias, and then you go to World Tier 4. You should have enough powder to go here and craft a basic level of a World Tier 4 Nightmare Dungeon, and you actually never have to do Helltide again outside of World Tier 2. Now, if you're not trying to go as fast as you can, you're not trying to be Jeff Gordon or whatever, and you're just having fun and you just like Helltide, then level in Helltide. Helltide's still really good, but the whole point of this video is I'm trying to tell you what's the fastest way. The fastest way is Nightmare Dungeons because of the events. They're so crazy strong. So another hint. This one might be a little bit more obvious, but I need to broadcast this. I can't scream this enough. Where your power comes from is tempering. They're the 2 little anvil things. 145% increased damage to close enemies. And for ancestral gear, you get 2 of them. People were making fun of me on my first Necro. I didn't temper a second time. First of all, I didn't have good tempering manuals. Second of all, I was scared I was going to run out of mats, but that was stupid. You're right. I should have done something, but I was scared, all right? I was scared. But you shouldn't be scared. We're running out of gold, which Blizzard has already publicly stated they're working on a fix for. Everyone's crying. Nobody has any gold. The reason why you don't have any gold is because in the end game, masterworking costs like more than 1 billion gold to masterwork a set of gear, even if you never reset it, which you will, because unless you're super lucky, but nobody's that lucky. But anyway, when you go to temper, you'll notice that when you pick something, it's not costing you gold. It's iron chunks, veiled crystals, and baleful fragments, and you have those for days. Those are easy. So temper all the time. Temper in World Tier 2 before you go to the Capstone. For your first set of gear in World Tier 3, temper it. Then when you get the Godly set, temper it again before you fight Elias. World Tier 4 intro set, temper it. When you get the really good set, temper it. Don't skip that. It's super important. Kind of along the same lines there of the Codex of Power, it's good to put powers on your gear, but notice the difference between tempering and this. When I go here and I want to put some aspect on it, this costs me 645,000 gold. That is a very steep price to pay, which is why there's something I'm going to explain to you in a moment after you have some things, which is why I'll show you another trick for that in a moment. But when you're using the Codex of Power, be very, very diligent about it. You can't, like if you have an 866 weapon and then you get an 880 weapon, don't switch it. it's too expensive. Wait. I went straight from, I was using 830s with this shitty barb that I just leveled up. I did not spend the resources to change them until I got 925s. I just waited because the 830s were fine and I just didn't want to spend the materials. So the feedback here is temper all the time, willy-nilly. You're never going to run out of mats. It's like impossible as long as you play the game. The gold right now is pretty scarce. And then the final thing I want to show you, and maybe the most valuable thing, is I want to show you how I salvage and vendor and store my gear in like 2 seconds. It's kind of a way to have a loot filter in the game without having a loot filter. So let's say I ran a nightmare dungeon and boom, I'm back in town. Let me show you my thought process as I run over here. So first of all, if you've salvaged enough gear, I'm already thinking to myself that I probably don't need to salvage my gear anymore, because when I go, like I just showed you, when I go to temper something, I have a million of these mats, right? I'm good. So the first thing that I do is I run over to the weapon vendor. I don't run to the blacksmith. And then when I'm looking here, there are 3 things that I'm looking for. I'm looking for this little, I don't know what this is, this little sword, this snowflake icon in the top right, whatever that is. I'm looking for this little red circle in the top middle, and I'm looking for this like gray, silvery background, whatever, tan background, which indicates a unique. So when I see this snowflake icon or whatever it is, it's indicating to me that if I salvage it, it will upgrade my codex. So I ain't never vendoring this for gold. I need to salvage it to upgrade my codex. When I see this, I have a very simple rule, and I learned this in last Epoch. It translates over to Diablo 4 Season 4 beautifully. If you have a greater affix, save it. A lot of people say, well, I look at the greater affix, it rolled a greater affix of thorns, I'm not going to play thorns, and I get rid of it. I wouldn't do that. Don't do that. You want to know why? I have 4 100s, and I've saved every greater affix that I found. Look, I don't even have 2 tabs yet. When I'm completely full, then I will be a little bit more picky, and then I'll go through it. But you might as well save it, because when you start to make alts, especially with how fast you can level alts this season, and actually because this season is actually fun to play, you never know what you might need, because the Thorns Barbs builds are starting to emerge. The Thorns Necro builds are starting to emerge. And the Firebolt sorcerers are coming in. So if you thought, oh, I will never play a build based around a basic skill, well, you might, because it might be godly in the pit. You just never know. So until your stash is completely full of greater affixes, save them. So anyway, here's what I do. Okay, so I come down here and I'm looking at these icons, and I can see that these 3 are not unique. They don't have a snowflake. They don't have the thing in the circle in the top middle. I vendor them. Vendor them for gold. You need gold. You have 100 million gold, you're broke. You have 500 million gold, you're broke, because you can't even masterwork 1 character. You're broke. You're bankrupt, essentially. You need a loan from the bank. Until Blizzard fixes it, we need gold. We don't need salvage materials. If you got, every time you complete a Tree of Whisper, make sure to turn it in. And then for these, I save the greater affixes. Boom. I save the uniques. Again, once you have enough uniques, you can start being picky. And then the only thing that I salvage are these little snowflake things, because it upgraded my codex. This is the perfect way to kind of have a loot filter in the game. You just run in and you sort your gear and say, okay, vendor everything, click, 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 click. Oh, here's a snowflake. Keep that. Do. Oh, here's a unique. Keep that. Da. Oh, greater affix, sell. Greater affix is in, uniques in, go over to the blacksmith, salvage everything with the snowflake. Boom, codex is always updated. Back in, go. Time to blast, whatever you're doing. Nightmare Dungeons, Pit, Helltide. So those are some things that I've learned leveling up 4 characters to 100 in the first 5 days. And you can do it super fast too. So I hope this video was helpful. One thing that I try not to do is I don't like to make the same videos all the time over and over and over. For example, I made an updated leveling guide during the PTR after we did all of the research. So I was thinking to myself, well, I could make another leveling guide right before the season starts, but I just made a leveling guide, so I don't need to make another one. Like, I don't want to be one of those YouTubers, but I did think some of these things that I learned, I just straight up didn't know, and I haven't properly articulated them into this guide yet, so I need to add it here. But I want to get you this information as early as possible because a lot of you are leveling up now, so every day that I wait, this information becomes more and more useless. Anyway, that's it, guys. I'm rambling at this point. I hope these tricks helped you. Diablo 4 is fun now, isn't it? It's fun to me. I'm going to try speedrunning some more. I think my record is 8 hours and 28 minutes for a fresh character to 100. I want to get it under 7 hours and 30 minutes, maybe under 7 hours, if dreams are a thing. Have a great day, guys. Thank you.